The incessant ringing of the phone pierced through Redvenom10's sleep. Groaning, he fumbled for the receiver, his mind foggy with dreams. The clock on the nightstand blinked 12 a.m. Who would call at this hour?
Hello?
Redvenom10 mumbled, his voice thick with sleep. A crackle, then a voice thin and reedy, whispered on the other end. The voice seemed to echo from a distant well. It spoke in a language both strange and familiar, each word a cryptic puzzle piece. Redvenom10 sat up, now fully awake, a shiver crawling down his spine. The voice sent an inexplicable chill through him, a sense of dread mixed with an unsettling allure. He felt an irresistible pull, an urge to decipher the enigma on the other side.
Who is this?
Redvenom10 asked, his voice barely a whisper. The only response was a series of clicks and whirs, followed by an eerie silence. The call ended abruptly, leaving Redvenom10 in a state of disquiet. He tried to rationalize the experience, blaming it on a prank call or a bad dream. But the voice, the strange dialect, the unearthly echo, it all felt too real. He paced his apartment, the phone still clutched in his hand. Sleep was now a distant possibility. The voice, though gone, continued to resonate in the silent room, weaving a web of mystery around him. Driven by a force unknown, Redvenom10 started to research. He searched online for archaic languages, for historical records of strange occurrences. Hours melted away, the night slipping into dawn. Just as exhaustion threatened to overwhelm him, he stumbled upon a website dedicated to unexplained phenomena. An article titled Echoes from the Past caught his eye. As he read, a sense of chilling recognition washed over him.
Could the voice be real? Could it be a message from a bygone era?
The thought, once absurd, now seemed terrifyingly plausible. Days turned into weeks. The memory of the call and the strange voice refusing to fade. Redvenom10 became obsessed, spending every free moment researching, trying to understand, to connect. He learned about temporal anomalies, about the possibility of communication transcending time. What was once the stuff of science fiction was now his sole obsession, his only reality. One evening, while listening to a recording of Elizabethan-era music, the phone rang again. The same time, the same eerie ring. Redvenom10's heart pounded in his chest. He picked up the phone, his hand trembling.
Hello?
The voice, unmistakable in its spectral clarity, spoke again. This time Redvenom10 understood. It was early modern English, the language of Shakespeare.
Who art thou?
Redvenom10 responded, his voice a mix of fear and exhilaration. The voice chuckled, a dry, crackling sound.
I'm he who seeks a story.
The voice rasped, each word a whisper that seemed to wrap around Redvenom10. A wave of dizziness washed over him, the phone slipping from his grasp. He clutched at the edge of the table, his vision blurring. The room around him began to distort, the familiar furnishings dissolving into a swirling vortex of colors. He felt a strange pull, a sensation of falling through time itself. Then, as quickly as it began, it stopped. Redvenom10 stood, dazed and disoriented, in a cobblestone street. So the air was thick with the scent of wood smoke and something else, a strange, almost sweet aroma he couldn't place. Gone were the sounds of traffic in the city. In their place were the unfamiliar noises of another time. Horses' hooves, clattering on stone, vendors hawking their wares, the murmur of conversations in a language he could barely comprehend. He looked down at himself, expecting to see his familiar clothes, but he was dressed in rough-spun tunic and breeches, his reflection in a nearby puddle, a stranger staring back at him. Panic welled up inside Redvenom10. He was trapped, thrown into a world he didn't understand, a world that existed centuries before he was born.
The air is so cold, a damp chill that seeps into my bones.
He stumbled down the narrow street, dodging carts and people in strange attire. The buildings were timber framed, their upper stories leaning precariously over the street.
The faces I pass, they're a mixture of curiosity and indifference. No one seems to notice my bewildered state, my modern haircut, or the fear etched on my face.
He was a ghost, an anachronism adrift in a sea of history. As he navigated the labyrinthine streets, he noticed a sign hanging above a doorway, the Globe Theater.
The Globe Theater. Could this be the place? Could I find the mysterious caller here?
He had to try, even if it meant facing the unknown. Mustering his courage, Redvenom10 entered the globe. The air inside was thick with the scent of sawdust and sweat. He found himself in a bustling space filled with actors, stagehands, and a motley crew of spectators. He moved through the crowd, his senses overwhelmed by the sights and sounds. On the stage, a group of actors were rehearsing a scene, their voices booming with dramatic intensity. Then he saw him. A man stood near the stage, his back turned, a quill scratching furiously on a piece of parchment. He was dressed in the fashion of a gentleman, his attire a stark contrast to the more common folk around him. Something about the man's bearing, his air of quiet intensity, drew Redvenom10 closer. As he approached, the man turned and their eyes met. It was a face Redvenom10 recognized instantly from countless portraits and textbooks. William Shakespeare, the bard himself, stood before him.
You are...
Redvenom10 stammered, his mind reeling from the impossible encounter.
You seem to have lost your way, friend.
Shakespeare smiled, a knowing twinkle in his eye.
I received a call.
Redvenom10, unsure how to explain his presence in Elizabethan England, simply blurted out the first thought that came to mind.
A call? From whom, pray tell?
From you.
Redvenom10 whispered, the absurdity of the situation hitting him with full force.
Ah, so you are the one who seeks a story. Perhaps I can help you find it.
Shakespeare's smile widened. Redvenom10 was drawn into a whirlwind of activity. Shakespeare introduced him to actors, to playwrights, to the vibrant underbelly of Elizabethan theater. Days turned into weeks, and Redvenom10 found himself becoming part of Shakespeare's world. He helped with props, listened to rehearsals, and even contributed ideas for scenes, his modern perspective offering a unique twist to the bard's work. He learned about the craft of storytelling, about the power of language to move and inspire. He discovered a passion within himself he never knew existed, a love for the magic of the theater. One evening, as they were working late on a new play, Shakespeare turned to Redvenom10, a strange glint in his eye.
I believe it is time for your story to be told.
Shakespeare handed him a script. Redvenom10 looked down at the title page, The Tragedy of the Time Traveler. His name was listed as the playwright. His mind reeled, but before he could protest, Shakespeare ushered him onto the stage. the roar of the crowd, the heat of the stage lights. It was all so surreal. He took a deep breath and began to speak, his words echoing the tale of his impossible journey through time. The play was a resounding success, the audience captivated by the tale of the time traveler. Redvenom10 swept up in the moment, poured his heart and soul into his performance. As the curtain fell, a wave of exhaustion washed over him. He stumbled off the stage, disoriented by the adulation of the crowd. He searched for Shakespeare, needing to share this moment of triumph with the man who had made it all possible. But Shakespeare was gone. Redvenom10 searched frantically for him, but the bard had vanished, leaving no trace of his presence. As Redvenom10 stood alone in the center of the globe, a familiar dizziness overtook him. The world spun, the cheers of the crowd fading into a distant echo. He woke up with a start, lying on the floor of his apartment, the phone dangling from its cord. Had it all been a dream? A hallucination? He sat up, his head spinning, a single sheet of paper clutched in his hand. It was the script for the tragedy of the time traveler, his name emblazoned on the cover. Was he Redvenom10, the man who lived a normal life? Or was he the playwright, the time traveler, forever immortalized in a story penned by William Shakespeare himself? He glanced at the mirror. His reflection seemed different, older, wiser. The line between reality and fantasy had blurred, leaving Redvenom10 forever changed. His life now a tapestry woven from the threads of time, imagination, and a single fateful phone call.